Joining us now, Megan Barth. You know Megan, she's from Las Vegas, and she started an organization called Reagan Babies a long time ago. Now she's moved on to bigger and better things. She got her own consulting firm, and she's like Big Cheese, and she's in Las Vegas. Megan, great to have you with us.
So much, John. Good to be back with you. And Reagan Babe still is alive, reaganbabe.com. It's my personal blog. It's been ignored a little bit because Brian Maloney and I of MediaEqualizer.com launched a PAC last week called Red Wave America, and we're targeting swing states with billboards. We've got our first billboard funded, which will go up in Texas against Beto, otherwise known as Robert Francis O'Rourke.
Beto.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the polls keep showing that as a close race. I mean, I remember I was on CNN 2 years ago, and I was on with, he's not on anymore, the guy with the suspenders. He ran Mondale's campaign. I can't think of his name. He was on the Fives. He was campaign manager.
Yes.
Yeah, he was campaign manager for Mondale back in '84. I just can't think of his name. Anyway, I'm on there with Don Lemon and him, and he's saying that Clinton is pulled within 3 of Trump in Texas, and like she was going to win Texas. And I remember saying to myself, he's not going to. Trump's going to win Texas by 10, 12 points, which he did. Is this race really that close?
You know, I think that it's closer. It's too close for comfort, and this is specifically regarding the amount of money that is poured in. California money, really, left-wing, progressive, Tom Steyer types, right, that are trying to influence specifically the youth vote with Next Gen America. And let's not forget that Next Gen America and the youth vote leans, of course, towards socialism because those young kids just don't know any better as they're working off their capitalist iPhones made by China slave labor. But nonetheless, Apple's going to bring their factories to the U.S., and we're looking forward to that. Why? Because we have a businessman at the head of our country named Donald J. Trump, who's actually friendly to business and doesn't punish business like socialists do. So I think it's a little bit too close for comfort, and that's why we're doing an all-out billboard campaign across Dallas, San Antonio, as well as Houston, and we have 3 different billboards that we're about to erect as long as they get funded. One is fully funded, in order to use Beto's words against him. And that's what Republicans really have to do, is use the words of the Democrats, the actions of the Democrats against them, because we definitely have a lot of material.
So it sounds like your assessment is that the race is closer than you'd like it to be.
Closer than we'd like it to be, yeah. And we're going to have now a few debates. We certainly can't lose Texas. And let's not forget that the Democrats have already lied, cheated, and stealed to get many elections. They rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders. They have the fraud baked into the bread in states like California, whereby any state that registers illegal aliens and gives them driver's licenses, they just happen to wind up on the voter rolls. Now, thankfully, Texas, in a recent ruling as of just yesterday, the Fifth Circuit upheld a Texas voter ID law. And so this type of law needs to be a blueprint for other states to follow, because right now there's only 46 states in the country that do not require citizenship proof in order to register to vote. And so we have dirty voter rolls pretty much in every state that doesn't demand some form of ID. And right now only 4 states do that, including Texas.
All right, so Megan, look, that's good news. I think a lot of us really think when it's all said and done, Cruz is going to win, but we certainly appreciate the effort that is going on there that your new organization is putting forth. Thank you for that.
We'll do it in Nevada. We'll do it in Missouri, and we'll also do it in Montana and Arizona because those are races. We certainly don't want to lose the Senate. And Nevada, as you know, is my backyard. Jackie Rosen is running against Dean Heller, and that's also a neck-and-neck race for the Senate.
So a lot of people looking at Nevada and not thinking that the Republican can win. You think differently?
I don't think the Republican... Look, we've got a very tight race in Nevada. Donald Trump lost Nevada by 27,000 votes. A majority of those votes come out of Clark County, which is a union-controlled city. And so when you look at the Culinary Union 226 and their get-out-the-vote efforts with Mi Familia Vota and other progressive George Soros operations, they certainly turn out the vote. And I also claim that our rules are tainted. and have fought the Secretary of State on this quite vocally and often. Because we do not have citizenship ID, and I covered the voter fraud during the last election and uncovered some of it. And so, again, wherever there is the potentiality of fraud, the Democrats will capitalize on it and use it to their advantage, giving them a victory for Hillary Clinton in Nevada by only 25,000 votes. And then, of course, you get down to the local elections, and the Republicans got their butts kicked in the local elections in last 2016, and some lost by just hundreds of votes.
You think Heller has a shot to get reelected in Nevada? That's the bottom line.
He has a shot. Everybody has a shot. However, he also has a shot to lose. And so it is a very tight race according to the polls. And, I always have my ear to the ground in Nevada, and we certainly need to turn out the vote in much greater numbers than in 2016. And we need to do that across every state, quite frankly. We need another red wave, and that's why we started Red Wave America. We need to make sure that we build a permanent offense against the socialist left.
All right, I like it. Red Wave America. Megan Barth with us of Red Wave America. Megan, let's get into the Kavanaugh hearings. What disturbs you about this whole episode?
The 11th hour weaponized allegations of sexual misconduct. I mean, we've definitely seen this playbook before, or the play in the playbook before, whether it's Clarence Thomas, whether it's Donald Trump as candidate. Where did all those women go that were accusing Donald Trump of sexual indiscretion and assault and abuse? We're not hearing from them anymore. They appeared with Gloria Allred as fast as they disappeared with Gloria Allred. So I'm waiting for, now that the Democrats have bought more obstructionist time in order to delay the confirmation by another week, let's not be surprised should Gloria Allred or Lisa Bloom or Ford's lawyer find another quote-unquote Me Too victim that will come out from Brett Kavanaugh, perhaps from elementary school days. Who knows?
So what do you think will happen? I mean, we're going to have the hearings Monday. It's going to start with Dr. Ford, obviously. She should have her say. It's going to start with that. Then in the afternoon, you're going to get Kavanaugh's rebuttal. Predict this out for us, Megan. I mean, you've been around the block on this stuff enough times. You've seen it with your own eyes. How do you see this playing out? Predict it for us.
I think he'll ultimately be confirmed because we still have a majority in the Senate. Corker just put out a statement that basically countered his previous statement that he was concerned. Now he's concerned about the weaponized allegations, right, whereby you can use allegations from, 35 years ago or so, and the due process is entirely thrown out the window. And this is what the Democrats are getting away with when they say that all women must be believed. Well, if that's the case, why weren't the accusers of Keith Ellison believed by the Democrats? We have two women, actually, that came forward against Keith Ellison with corroborating evidence, text messages and videos, et cetera, and they were just simply ignored by the Me Too movement. And so what I've witnessed is that this Me Too movement is not necessarily a grassroots type of effort in order to expose the amount of sexual abuse and sexual misconduct against women by powerful men, but it's more used as a political tool of the left, specifically to go after Republican or conservative candidates or nominees. The Democrats have a history of these 11th hour allegations, like I said, dating back to Clarence Thomas with Anita Hill. But at the end of the day, I believe that there will be enough of the majority in order to confirm Kavanaugh, and then we'll have to see what type of circus the Democrats have in store for the next round. And it will be a circus should the Democrats regain control in either the Senate or the House, because they will make sure they obstruct and seditiously conspire against this president, as they did in the primaries, as they did prior to the election of 2016 and after the election of 2016.
Megan, you're making a lot of sense, and as before you were coming on, I saw the Bob Corker statement, and I thought that was pretty interesting because he did kind of turn. Yesterday he sent a statement out that said that he was concerned and he wanted to get to the bottom of it, and today he puts out a statement, like you said, not in a reversal of it, but almost like he went to bed on it and slept on it and got up and said, wait a minute, I'm concerned now about the fact that this is being used as a weapon. Because the problem is here, if we go into Monday and Dr. Ford says what she says, and I've said this on my show all day, the Republicans on the Judiciary Committee have no upside here. They have absolutely no upside, all downside. So, like, if it was me, Megan, and if I was on that Judiciary Committee, my question would be, did you have a safe flight coming in, Dr. Ford? Can I get you a cold soft drink, a hot cup of coffee? Are you comfortable? That would be the extent of my questioning. Because anything the Republicans ask is going to blow up in their face, right? And that's going to be on TV ads, and it's going to be Me Too and suburban women and the Republicans, it's a disaster, right? That's coming. So this is almost like entrapment. So that's about the only thing that I would ask. The Democrats can ask her. She can get her story out. And then I think Kavanaugh comes in. If he denies it, and he's already has unequivocally denied it, and his witnesses has denied it, there's no one else to believe. You got one person saying, I didn't do it. The other person said he does. And it's 40 years ago, and there's one witness who's denying it also, which is his friend. Where do you go with this, Megan? I mean, where do you possibly go with this?
Well, I'm sure there'll be another Spartacus moment for Cory Booker. Who knows? It's going to be just more political theater for the Democrats in order to trash Republicans. They've gotten their way, unfortunately, once again, even though we have the majority. You're absolutely right. I'm hoping that the Republican women that sit on the committee actually grill her. And I think from a woman's perspective, it's important. For example, her story has changed quite a bit, even from her lawyer's story. And what she says is that she actually feared for her life. I mean, she thought she was going to be, in effect, murdered by Kavanaugh, but she doesn't remember where that murder occurred. I mean, come on. If I were physically assaulted to the point where I thought I was going to lose my life, you can sure as hell believe that I would remember exactly where that happened. And so there are a lot of holes in the doctor's story that need to be uncovered. But you make an excellent point. It's really a lose-lose situation, specifically for male Republicans, to do anything more than ask her about her flight and whether or not she wants a cup of coffee. But I think, like I said, the truth at the end of the day, much like Clarence Thomas, will rise to victory, and we'll have another Supreme Court justice confirmed. And having watched Ruth Bader Ginsburg talk about the circus of Judge Kavanaugh, I think we're going to have another one quite soon to be filled.
You know, that interview, I'm glad you brought that up, Megan Barth. That interview by Bader Ginsburg, it's not played anywhere. The legacy media may believe it didn't happen. And I'm not a fan of hers or her policies or anything of that nature, her rulings. But it was a pretty, she talks very deliberately. It was a pretty compelling thing she said, which was, she said, look, I went for confirmation and I went to the White House and they were concerned about me being with the ACLU and everything. And she said all the Republicans were concerned about was my qualifications, not what I did, who I worked for, what my past was, just, am I qualified? And she said she got, 96 votes or something. I mean, she won 97-3. And she said that can no longer happen today. And she kind of blasted the whole process and how partisan that it's become. And, of course, nobody ran that other than me, right? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, she basically said if she could wave a magic wand and turn back time, she would like to go back to the time where it was actually a more judicious process and a more ethical process, quite frankly, of the nomination process of Supreme Court justice. And what, like I said, we've witnessed now with the Democrats, specifically with Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, it's simply just political theater to continue their politics of personal destruction, much like they did to Miguel Estrada, because, God forbid, we'd have a Hispanic conservative on the court, the first Hispanic, right? The Democrats wanted that one. And, God forbid, we have Robert Bork or even a conservative black justice, Clarence Thomas. And so we've witnessed the political smear campaign, the character assassination before, and now the Democrats have just upped the ante lately, specifically with this Me Too canard.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out Monday, because Corker's on to something, and he said, look, if Kavanaugh denies it, and it's 37 years later, and there's no due process, and now it's being turned into a weapon, what's next? What's next?
Well, and
right?
Well, we've witnessed what happens when there's no due process. We saw this happen with the Duke lacrosse team. We saw this happen on the University of Virginia campus when Jane Doe came out and gave a explosive story to Rolling Stone, basically libeling a whole entire fraternity and defaming them by falsely claiming that she was gang raped. That turned out to be a lie. And then, of course, we witnessed the no due process on the Columbia campus when a feminist martyr decided to strap a mattress to her back and walk around claiming that she was raped by a male student on campus. And he was basically crucified in the court of public opinion, and she turned out to be a liar. So that's what happens when due process goes to the wayside. You have a bunch of political opportunists that rise, usually of the feminist background, that believe that a few victims along the way is okay as long as their quest for social justice is met.
And don't forget what happened with the lacrosse players at Duke. Same thing.
Yes, that was the first one I mentioned with Crystal Mangum.
Right,
yes.
That's right.
And then, of course, Tawana Brawley in New York. That was another, feminist darling of the Al Sharpton left. But yes, Duke lacrosse. I mean, those boys were literally libeled, defamed, and smeared in the court of public opinion. Lost much of their lives for many, many years, and then were found not guilty because due process was in place and took its course.
No, you're right, Megan. And again, back to Bob Corker, although he's retiring, I think what he said is, if one person says it happened, the other says it didn't happen, both are convincing. It happened 40 years ago. There's no due process. And we believe, number one, rather than Kavanaugh, we believe Ford instead of Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh's nomination goes down. He doesn't get confirmed. I think what Corker's saying is, you now set a precedent that anybody at any time can take any Republican down for saying he assaulted me when I was in high school in 1976 or whenever. That's a real issue. That's a real problem. I mean, you have due process. And so, what bothers me about this, Megan, is this guy's been vetted a number of times by the FBI and gone through confirmation hearings, and none of this came out until the last minute. It just, it begs the question that, is it a weapon or is it real? Either way, I think the timing's a real issue. Megan, I got to go. Thanks for being with us. What's your website, the new company again?
They can find us at MediaEqualizer.com, and our website will be up soon, but our Facebook page is doing phenomenally well, and that's Red Wave America on Facebook. They can find all the information there.